Thank you for tuning in to Chaos Culture Radio. This your boy Prince Hakeem.
This is Ronnie Ron. How's it going, Hakeem? Long time, man.
Long
Long time.
time no speak. You know what I
It
mean?
is, man.
Now, give a word for our sponsors. ShopLikeAKing.com. Coupon code Chaos. Coupon code is Chaos, where you can get your fitness needs. And we have a special guest today, an honor for him to take his time and speak to us. Our brother Tony Muhammad from the Miami Mosque.
Wait, hold on, Hakeem. So you telling me you got the Nation of Islam
The Nation
in
of
the
Islam.
house?
The Nation of
Oh,
Islam.
praise Allah. Oh, man.
All praise is due to Allah.
Yes,
Peace
it
be
is.
unto
Oh,
him.
man.
Yes, sir. You could hear me all right?
Yeah. Yep, we can hear you perfect, Mr.
Oh
Muhammad.
man, it's an honor and a pleasure to be on the show, beloved brothers.
Thank you, beloved.
Oh yes, sir.
So, Mr. Muhammad, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from?
I'll give you a little comprehensive background, if you will. Let me just begin properly, because we always begin properly in the name of Almighty God, no matter what name we call Him by. I'm going to begin by saying, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness Muhammad is messenger and servant. And it's customary that we greet one another in peace. We could say peace, we could say shalom, we could say paz, la paz esté con usted. Whatever language we use, we as Muslims, we always greet one another with assalamu alaikum, which of course means peace be unto you. And my background, my parents are of Cuban background. I was born in New York City. We relocated when I was a child to Miami, Florida, and I grew up here. And I registered in the Nation of Islam after I was done with graduate school. I'm a professional educator, but I got registered after I was done with my degrees, if you will, and in pursuit of the higher degree, and that being in the classroom of God. And I've been in the ministry for quite some time. I presently serve in the capacity of assisting our student regional minister here in the state of Florida, and this region just doesn't encompass the state of Florida, encompasses the Caribbean, Central and South America, and Mexico. So this is a very vast and international region. The student regional minister presently for the 7th region is Student Minister Patrick Muhammad. He's a son of Haiti. And he loves our people no matter what background they may come from. You know, black itself, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad puts it, is not national, but it's universal. And so everywhere that we go on the planet, we see the darker people of the earth. We could call them black. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the better term to use, or the best term to use, is original, as we are the original peoples and original founders of civilization itself. A little bit more in my background. I have strong roots in hip hop. I was for about 6-7 years, I was the publisher of Urban America newspaper here in South Florida. I was one of the founders. I wasn't the original publisher of the paper itself, but I eventually became that, and I wrote for the paper itself. I became a widely recognized journalist. I traveled the country, spoke at various hip-hop conferences, including the National Hip-Hop Political Convention in both 2006 in Chicago and in Las Vegas in 2008. And I've been establishing my career, focusing more on the education tip ever since then. So that's a little bit more about my background, dear brothers.
I duly appreciate that, my brother.
Yeah.
You want to know? So I noticed that because I've seen pictures of you with Society and a bunch of other people, and I was really interested in that. And even
yeah, that's family.
I forgot.
That's family.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember Pete Blade?
Pete Blade, not particularly.
Because
If you tell me the name of the group, maybe I'll remember.
you want to know something? It was a rap group that was I think there was a studio that was attached to the building to the nation like maybe like 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yes,
Yes, yeah,
that was just like 2 or 3 houses down from where the mosque was.
yeah.
Right, and now the mosque is in that same building right
Building,
now.
yep.
It's being used as both as a recording studio and as a little club. And the one who owned it was Brother Anthony Muhammad. Uh,
Yes.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I know of several artists that recorded this, including a brother by the name of Problem 13, who recorded it for many years.
I remember Problem. Yeah.
So, beloved Tony, do you consider the Nation of Islam changed your life and can it impact the black community?
Absolutely. It could impact not just the black community, but we as the original peoples of the earth, and even white people if they submit themselves. Although it's kind of hard for them to do so and face up the truth, but it could impact all of our lives. What we are in drastic need of right now is not just repair, but complete transformation. We need complete transformation on an economical level. We need complete transformation on a spiritual level. We need a complete transformation on the political level. Right now, many of our people are arguing about who's the next slave master to rule us. You know, between the Republican national comedy show or whatever you want to call it, and the Democratic one. And we're living in some very troubling times when we find even mainstream Democrats arguing that there is a need for another major party. It just lets you know that neither one of these parties are really even addressing the needs of white people. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been teaching us that we ourselves are in need of a third party, one that would meet the needs of our people. At one time, he called it the Justice Party, and that was right after the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. That we are in need of that. And so, who among us will really step up the game when it comes down to politics? But like real politics, a real service to meet the needs of our people today. We can't be dealing with the politics or politricks of this world. We need to really create something and establish something for ourselves to benefit ourselves that will really meet the needs of our people. We ourselves, we know about our condition and what a horrible condition we're in. We know that best. And so it is incumbent upon us to really put forth an agenda wherever we are. It doesn't mean that all of us have to join the Nation of Islam. It doesn't mean that at all. Unity does not mean uniformity, that we all look the same and think the same and act the same. We could be strategizing in different ways, but we have to find ways of uniting with one another. If what you're into is political elections, well, maybe you're someone that we could support and work on that level. Maybe you're somebody else. Maybe their avenue is economics, setting up businesses to benefit our people. Maybe somebody else, their avenue is education. But no matter what our strategy is, we need to unite it for the benefit of our people. Wherever we differ with one another, we have to start practicing not airing our dirty laundry on social media and in the public when we're interviewed on television or anything of that nature. Wherever we have problems with one another, we need to keep that behind closed doors and settle more on what we have in common rather than our differences. The enemy loves to play in our division, and that's why we can't get anything accomplished today, because we settle on what the enemy wants to give us and not so much what we deserve. And what we deserve is a lot greater than what the enemy is providing for us today. We fight among each other for the crumbs that they give to us. It's time to stop all that.
And ain't that the
Please.
truth?
That's
I
the
got a
truth.
question for you for that.
Yes, sir.
Now, how is the and this is something that that been dawning on me as I've been
Yes,
growing
sir.
up, watching the Nation of Islam and seeing how is the relationship between the Nation of Islam and you can, it's like a two-part question. How do you see it from a national level, and how do you see it from a local level, even here in Miami? And with how do you see the relationship between them?
Between our people in the Nation of Islam, or how exactly do you mean?
Like the nation of Islam and hip hop, like you know what I mean? How?
Nationalism and
Yeah.
okay, nationalism and hip hop as it relates to the Nation of Islam. I'm trying to understand your question.
I can't be trying to understand your question.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we lost him. Hold
No,
on.
no, no,
Okay.
no. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Can't hear me?
All right. Yeah,
You know
I'm just trying to understand your question a little bit more, dear brother.
okay, okay.
Comparing the hip hop nation with the Nation of Islam.
No, no. I say, how is the relationship between the nation and hip hop? Meaning that like
Oh,
rappers and stuff like that
oh, brother,
from a local level to a national level. So just give an example, because we spoke on this earlier, where the father name was misquoted at an event he given, but I
Mhm.
seen rappers and comedians stepping up condemning a particular person. We not going we I say we don't need to mention his name, and I
Mhm.
felt good about that, and I was like, hey, I haven't seen something like this in a long time, where hip hop was just stepping up for one of our soldiers who put in a lot of work. It's something as simple as, hey, don't misquote the minister's name.
Right. Well, with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and those of us that work on his behalf on the local level, he has a very strong. Historically, he's had a very strong relationship with the hip hop community uh, from the inception of hip hop itself. From the inception of hip hop itself, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have been with hip hop. I mean, things have changed over time or whatnot. I mean, but one thing about hip hop, you always found people that were brothers, particularly brothers. But you've also found sisters working behind the scenes when it comes down to the artists. They're the ones that build the relationship, with the artists on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. And oftentimes the minister has spoken to various segments of the hip hop community when on the local level when we were organizing for the 20th anniversary of Million Man March. We were having local meetings right here that took place in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, meetings with local hip hop groups, artists, if you will, and he was just having private discussions with them. We've always facilitated those kind of events, those kind of gatherings for the minister. And so the kind of guidance that the hip hop community has experienced as a result of this relationship, it's immeasurable. And you're mentioning the one I'm sure that you're referring to is Royce the 5'9".
Yes,
When he was coming out and mentioning, talking about that particular individual, which I don't think from my understanding, you don't even want to mention his
I
name.
want. He doesn't
That's
even.
perfectly fine.
He doesn't even deserve it. He doesn't even deserve it. I don't even. Yeah, he don't even deserve it.
See, I mean, but it's not it's not uncommon to find artists coming out defending the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan like that. When the minister was banned from Facebook and from Instagram, artists such as Snoop Dogg came out and we're talking about like, hey, maybe we should cancel you. Why are you canceling the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the truth that he has to share that is benefiting so many of our lives and giving us the moral guidance that we absolutely need? Because truth be told, dear brothers, many of us grew up in broken homes. We didn't have fathers around. We didn't have the proper guidance that we needed. What's normal in a truly moral household, that's not what we're experiencing oftentimes in our own homes. And when the minister speaks, we receive him with tears of joy because he's speaking about our condition that no one else truly understands. And so that's the kind of relationship he has, particularly with these artists, because these artists are coming from these communities, and they're the first ones to come out and start becoming vocal about the way that he's mistreated and ill spoken of by the enemy, oftentimes. Um, so I would say that that's the kind of relationship that the artist community and the hip hop community has traditionally had with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. When you're dealing with hip hop from the very beginning, Kool Herc himself, DJ Kool Herc, he the founding father of hip hop. He rolled with the gods in New York City. The teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad were out in the street, and he was very much influenced by them. And likewise with many of those that were involved in Zulu Nation and many street organizations right there in the early beginnings of when hip hop was developed in the early 1970s. So this is not a new relationship. We've had this relationship for a very long time.
Beloved Tony, I want to ask you, how do you feel about the music now? How is this grading on women and making them like more whorish than actual on wives and someone with women with elegant. Of course, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad always teaches that all women are queens. So how do
Yeah.
you feel about the music now today? How it's changing our whole community, how we view women?
And Tony, I want to piggyback off that. I don't know if you've listened to the new song by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, WAP, where it goes really ratchet. But then, you know what I mean? A lot of people was criticizing. They even brought up Luke name and Kaya's
Right.
name, who are from Florida, and they said y'all
Facts.
mad about this song, but
Uh huh.
why y'all not criticizing these other people who started this?
Right.
Facts.
This is not a new thing. And I've oftentimes just being in or around the music industry. I'm gonna say this. I've seen conscious artists, and I'm talking about beautiful conscious sisters. Like, um, I'm not gonna mention any names right now, but you saw rappers, MCs that were women that absolutely respected themselves, and
Definitely.
they dressed in a righteous manner. And like in the late '90s, early 2000s, the style of a lot of underground hip hoppers where we wore baggy clothes, and like these sisters, like, they covered up and
Yeah.
it was very, very respectful. And
Uh
like, man, when they touched the mic, when they went out to the spots such as, trying to think of the spot in South Beach where the DJ was DJ Snow White, the legendary DJ Snow White. It was called the spot was called Fatland, and a lot of these MCs that end up getting signed throughout the country, such as Society and many others. I mean, a lot of them were in these spots, and they would get up on the mic and they would rock it, and these spots were happening so much. Like I'm talking about, like, really happening. That artists such as Wu-Tang Clan would come in and they would look at the crowd and go, yo, after their performances wherever they were performing at in Miami, they would come out at the spot and they go, yo, we're gonna perform for y'all. you know, and a lot of these conscious sisters, they were there, but when they got signed in the music industry, they were being told, well, we signed you for your skill, but, according to our demographics, this is what's selling right now. Can you sound like a Little Kim? Can you sound like Foxy Brown? Because that's what's selling records right now. Can you sound like, nowadays Cardi B? Can you sound like so and so? Whatever it is, um, whatever is selling at the moment, that's how you should be sounding, and that's how you should be looking too. So this is nothing new. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the late '70s, he spoke at a conference called the Jack the Rapper Conference, and in that particular conference, which by the way, there I have a record, an actual LP, um, that has that particular lecture that the minister delivered. And that particular record is sampled on It Takes a Nation, a Million to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy. Little snippets of that particular lecture, in which the minister was talking about, even back then in the 70s, how artists were being used, particularly black artists, to sound a particular way, raunchy, sexual, violent if possible, and they were playing that kind of music on the radio. Of course, things have intensified and has gotten a lot worse. So even when hip hop music itself, what we know as hip hop music or rapping, when that wasn't even being played on the radio, the minister was highlighting that kind of behavior of the industry back in the late 70s. And so it is today, but the condition, of course, is a lot worse. I don't blame our sisters, our very beautiful sisters, for going out there and presenting themselves in that manner. What the message to me is that we've got a lot more work to do. We don't judge them. They're gonna make arguments such as, oh well, sex sells, and we're just doing what sells right now. Men go for it or whatever. No, we need a whole new standard of woman. And if we're taught that a nation rises no higher than its woman, if we're able to promote that concept and that idea, and when you take a look at the women, the MGT in the Nation of Islam, there's sisters that are striving to uphold that pinnacle of civilization everywhere where they go, and they seek to exemplify that in every aspect of life. We as men also need to seek to exemplify that level of righteousness ourselves, because we see that kind of filth being promoted. We ourselves, we have to seek to become the alternative. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad made the analogy of putting the clean glass right next to the dirty glass and then letting the people choose. If that side is winning right now in terms of the dirty glass, then we have to do something much more greater to promote the righteousness that Almighty God Himself wants us to exemplify in this hour. So, don't hate, don't get angry. The only one that you should be getting angry with is yourself. If you see something that's absolutely going wrong with our people, seek to step up your game and help to improve the condition of our people. That's what I would say in respects to that.
And what way can we, in what way can we include the help of our people as a man?
I'm just going to speak from experience, beloved brother. The whole reason why during the time that I did this when I was in my 20s, I'm not I'm not a youth anymore, but I myself in my 20s, I didn't even like the direction in which popular hip hop was headed towards. Even conscious hip hop, truth be told, dear brother, I've seen a lot more raunchiness take place behind the scenes on the part of conscious artists behind the scenes than I did on the part of the most popular artists, if you will. I mean,
Wow.
the popular artists, they would do things in the public to get attention, but that wasn't necessarily their lifestyle behind the scenes. I mean, you have someone like Trick Daddy, that he was married and had children and strove to do the best that he can for his family. But I mean, when you saw the music videos, you saw something else being promoted, if you will, a lavish lifestyle, whatever. The man, from my understanding, the way I was told, he didn't live like that. And so you heard songs later on like Trick loved the kids. But going back, I strove to be the difference myself. Um, I was very much influenced by the conscious hip hop, by the positiveness of hip hop, and where I felt the culture itself needed to be headed. And I myself, I am of the firm belief that hip hop itself is a divine culture given to us by Almighty God Himself to help build us out of the wretched condition that we are in, because it was like that in the 1970s, where those block parties were being developed, the house parties were being developed as a result of members of street organizations that were just tired of beating each other up. Like, look, let's call the truth. Let's just have these kind of parties where we just call for peace among us. And mind you, it wasn't the cleanest glass, you know, when we're dealing with those situations there. I mean, there was still some drugs, there was still some sexuality taking place, but it was a lot better than what was going out in the street, you know. But that evolution, that constant evolution had to continuously take place. And I sought to be a part of it. I started up my own with a group of other people who I consider to be family, my brothers and sisters. And they were not members of the Nation of Islam, but we had something in common. That was culture, that was hip hop. And we came together and we wanted to create a positive outlet for our people. We started up Urban America newspaper. We started interviewing a lot of the artists that were doing positive things, raising money for scholarships, producing positive music, conscientious music, the music that we absolutely love, providing that alternative. That's what we love to do. Did we give some media coverage to the popular artists? Yes, but we were more focused on who was making the difference out in the hip hop and in the entertainment industry in general. So we wanted to highlight the positive and at the same time talk about the realities of what was going out in the world. At the same time, in 2004, really between 2003 2004, I was asked to organize a hip hop conference at Florida International University by one of my advisors. Her name is Dr. Carol Boyce Davies, and she said to me, like, can you think of some kind of way where you could merge academics with hip hop? I said, well, I could bring on a lot of the people that are making a difference in the hip hop community today that are not very very well known. And so we invited at the Organic Hip Hop Conference, which literally taught the hip hop community and the youth in the community the idea and the concept of how to eat to live. And that comes from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where we promote the concept of healthy thinking, healthy eating, healthy living. And we invited people like Queen Afua and her son Supernova Slum, who was an artist, Davey D of DavyD.com. We had Brother Jay of X Clan. We had some special events with KRS-One and many other artists. We had Professor Griff speak one year. Dr. Laila Africa, we had him speak about the importance of healthy living. So when we're dealing with hip hop, we can't just be of the opinion that this is a culture that is just something that is to be experienced in the clubs and, you know, in entertainment venues. No, if it is a lifestyle, then it should be a progressive lifestyle, something that we incorporate in our lives 24/7. And the next evolution of it has to do with the improvement of self on all levels. When we're dealing with healthy eating, healthy living, it also deals with economics, because we don't accomplish anything without economics. We don't accomplish anything without the acquisition of land. You know, right now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this in How to Eat to Live. These were books that were written in the 1960s. He said these words. He said that there is very little pure food left. He said that back in the 60s. And I think that particular phrase has more. There's more of a reality of that today with all this GMO food all around than way back then. And so part of what we should be doing right now is investing in the acquisition of land and producing food that is good for us as a people. So when we're dealing with this culture known as hip hop, it has to be constantly progressing. But we ourselves, we have to make sure that we are the difference ourselves. It begins with self. It's too easy to point fingers at other people. If we ourselves, we're not trying to rise to the occasion and being the difference ourselves, then it's like we're not accomplishing anything at all.
No, definitely. I was
Yes.
wondering, did you hear the new song by Pharrell and Jay-Z called Entrepreneur that just came out?
No, I didn't. No, I
Where,
didn't.
where
That sounds like a good song though.
it is. It was highlighting black entrepreneurship, and they in the video they were showing different people who had their own businesses and certain companies that was trying to make a difference in the community. Now, one thing that I've always daunted is, I mean, me growing up in Miami and seeing how things looked very different from going to El Portal to Liberty City to even
Hmm.
certain places in Hialeah wasn't
Hmm.
looking as well as places like Weston or Miami
Right,
Beach. And,
right,
and that always daunted on me, like, yo, why there's more money being invested here and not more money being invested in these places?
right. Well, I mean, the reality is, it's like uh, the enemy has considered us to be expendable because we're no longer serving a need for him. And this when we're talking about that, we're talking about both the Black and Latino populations here in Miami. You find particular segments of the Latino community going out to Kendall and living in Kendall, and forgetting the rest about the rest of our so-called Latino community. And so the majority of us are still living in poverty in
Yes.
segments in Little
Facts.
Havana, and not and not just black folks living in Overtown and Liberty City and North Miami. It's happening to us across the board, both the black and the Latino. The problem is we have this divide here in South Florida because of the whole Cuban thing, and then I don't see the division being as bad as when I was growing up down here back in the 80s and in the early 90s. I do see some improvement in the realization that, look, we need to come out of this condition. I do see more of us thinking on that level. But however, a lot more work has to be done. Um, we ourselves, we have to begin where we are, and seek to be the difference where we are. I would just argue that if not, we're going to be experiencing more of what we have been experiencing in these communities. Other people coming from other communities and just buying up the property and setting up shop right there in our own communities. And we ourselves, we don't control the economics of our own community. If I could share something from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Message to the Black Man,
Please.
and mind you, this book itself was written in 1965.
Yep.
But when you hear the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speak, it's speaking to our condition still today.
Yep.
And so we have to ask ourselves the question, like, when are we going to be learning our lesson? And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said these words on page 221 of Message to Black Man. How can we unite? So you say that we cannot unite and produce our own necessities? We are, at that time, 22 million or more people depending on the white American citizen to produce food, clothes, shelter, transportation, employment, and our educational training. And if they, white Americans, do not share equally with us, we charge them with discriminating. Some of us will go to the extreme of disgracing ourselves in trying to force the white American citizens to give equal respect. The love of self and self-respect, along with the will to do something for self, if given a chance, will get you the respect of all civilized nations. It is a shame and disgrace to the intelligence of any people to lie at the feet and doorstep of another nation, asking, praying to be cared for. Love and unity of self and kind is the key to salvation. So if we don't see things being produced as they should in our communities, because we're not loving self enough, and we're not really seeing a need to unite with one another. We ourselves, we have to be the exemplary ones to show our people how we can unite and make a difference in the community, no matter what the cause. When we're standing up against the cause of police brutality and police killings in our community, they need to see us as a solid wall. If we're dealing with the issues of economics, what's stopping us from coming together and investing in our own community? It's our own self, and it's our own lack of self-confidence and our lack of trust with one another, because we've been experiencing that since slavery. And so the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to break out of that mentality and seek to establish a true brotherhood and true sisterhood where we can make a difference in our community. I'll just say that in respects to that, too, guys.
Also in the book, The Message of the Black Man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad mentioned about Christianity, and he also stated how Christianity has done harm to the black community. Can you reiterate on that? Because a lot of people feel that Christianity, when it came into the black community, it cripples us as a people.
Well, it depends on how Christianity is being taught. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan has made a key distinction between white Christianity and black Christianity. White Christianity has taught us that there is a white Jesus um, that is coming to save us. If the Son is white, then the Father obviously is white, and so the chosen people cannot be white. Sorry, cannot be black. They're white, and so with that kind of perspective, we cannot really have a proper view of even ourselves under that kind of religion. Even when it comes down to um, just the basic way in which Christianity is presented, and historically the way that our open enemy, has presented religion in general to us, it's always been in a way to pacify us. But you don't see historical figures. I'm going to use an example in David Walker, who was a Christian, but he had a vision of liberating black people from bondage. It was his faith that inspired him to do that. So that wasn't white Christianity, at least not the white version of Christianity that inspired him to do that. Likewise with Nat Turner. And Nat Turner led one of the largest slave rebellions in American history. That wasn't white Christianity that inspired him to do that. That was a liberation theology that was I would say divinely given to him, with the idea that black people are the chosen people of God. So we have to make a key distinction here as to what type of Christianity we're dealing with. Unfortunately, many of our people, not just when we're dealing with Christianity, but we find this also in Islam, where many of us have become pacified to the point where um, many people question us in the Nation of Islam why we have a search procedure when people come into our buildings. Um, we're taught that God helps those that help themselves, no matter what religion you're talking about. And
Facts.
so a lot of people question that about us. Like, no, we're doing everything that we can to protect ourselves. When Dylan Roof went into that church in I believe it was in South Carolina, excuse me, which that was Denmark Vesey's church, a church that he established. Denmark Vesey, he was absolutely opposed to slavery and we believe that he was planning a slave rebellion himself, but he was a founder of that church. Dylan Roof walked into that church with no search procedure, nothing, and he was just invited in, and the way that 12 church members were gunned down by him, they were gunned down during the act of praying, because now you allowed him to come into your church, into your establishment, without any kind of check procedure. Hasn't our mentality changed? When it comes down to it, needs to change, because ever since that we were brought here on the shores of America, we've caught nothing but pure hell from our open enemy. And if by now we are not prompted to establish search procedures and really not allowing them to gain entry into our places of abode, including our religious institutions, we have to like really think about that. If you want to allow white people into your congregation, then fine. But I would recommend to those churches, establish a search procedure, because conditions in America, particularly when we're dealing with the black and the brown, it is not safe for us today. Absolutely not. Even among our own people, it is not safe. So we ourselves, we have to take the proper precautions, dear brothers. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to Christianity, but again, I'm going to go back to what he taught. What did he mean by Christianity? We're talking about white Christianity here. Christianity in that shape and form and expression is one of the greatest slave-making religions. But at the same time, when we're taking a look at any religion on the face of the planet Earth, including Islam, in the way that certain people have presented it, it could be utilized for malicious reasons, if you will, to keep one group above and another group in submission to that person, and not all of them seeking to form a true brotherhood and sisterhood in submission to the one God. No, today we need to establish a new understanding of what religion is and how it could properly serve us. When I'm talking about religion, I'm talking about a methodology in which I could view my brothers properly. I could see God coming in the person of my brothers. And I give you so much honor and respect because I see God in my presence, that I'm giving you the proper love and respect that you deserve. That's the type of religion that we need, in the form of Islam, in the form of Christianity, in the form of true Judaism, in the form of whatever religion that you practice. Let's make religion, which means to get back to the ways of God. We need to make religion truly properly serve us, and not allow other people to make us serve them under false circumstances, if you will.
That was a powerful message you just
It
said.
was. That was powerful. Wow.
I want to get to something that I want to ask you. As you being an educator, why do you think that economics is not taught in schools? And do you feel that is a causation of why we lack certain maybe certain attributes of trying to build things for ourselves here?
That's an excellent question, dear brother. I always teach my students. I'm a social studies educator. I always teach my students to not just go with the okie doke of what they teach you in public schools. That model is out. I mean, when I was growing up, the model was that you go to school, you get educated. When you finish school, you either go into college or you pick up a trade, and you get hired by somebody else after you're done. If you go to college, oftentimes we pick up an enormous amount of debt, and we end up paying that debt for the rest of our lives, while working another job. That is not living, and that shouldn't be the true purpose of education. The true purpose of education, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us, is to uplift the human being, is to have us understand self, what our true purpose in life is, and to shape a whole new reality. What we're being taught in school today is to basically just go to school, and then after we're done, after we pick up a skill, we go and beg somebody for a job. Even if you go to let's say FIU, or you go to Miami-Dade or any college or university in this country, and you major in business administration, in those classes, they're not teaching you oftentimes how to develop an income for yourself, how to start up a business for yourself. They never take out the incorporation papers to a business and like lay them out for you, like this is how you incorporate a business. No, what they do is they teach you how to do business for somebody else, how to be good for somebody else, for another company. In the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we're not restricted from working a job. You know, we're not taught that we should just simply not work a job and just do for self. That wouldn't be doing it justice. We could be working a job and at the same time working another job or working 2 or 3 jobs that we develop ourselves. And the goal is to make those businesses successful to the point that we could eventually walk away from that current job that we're working for somebody else for. That would be more of what we should be doing. My students, I always tell them, look, I teach middle school students presently. Look, right now, you should be picking up trades among yourselves. Right now is like the most opportune time to do that. People are learning how to do trade just by watching YouTube videos. I had a I had a student when I was teaching high school. I always use this example. I love using this particular example. I had a student that he had he took a basic pair of jeans, like Levi jeans, and he would tag it up with some real nice graffiti on there. And he would sell those jeans, you know, $20 pair of jeans. He would sell them at some boutiques in South Beach for $300 a pop. And he told me, yeah, I already know what they're going to do in those boutiques. They're going to sell them for $600 each. But guess what? You know, like I'm going to keep making these designer jeans, and I'm gonna keep making my money. My goal is to own my first house by the time I graduate high school. You know, and I always use that kind of example to my students to show them, like, look, there's a way that you could start picking up a trade. You could start producing your own products. Get people to buy T-shirts from you. A T-shirt that you design. Create something. And go around in your community, your neighborhood, and get people to support you. And you produce a good product, people will support you. I try to get my students to start thinking like that, because by the time that you're about to graduate high school, it's already too late. You know, imagine the kind of wealth that you could have already amassed by the time that you got done with high school. You know, you could be saving up to buy your first house, invest in real estate. You keep your grades up. You could get some scholarships. I myself, when I was in college when I was at FIU, I got my degree, my master's degree from Florida International University in the area of social studies education. At one point, I was writing on about 5 different scholarships, and I could have had a lot more had I had the knowledge that I have now, and gone out and done the research of getting more scholarships. And I really teach my students on that level. But I always teach them, when you're done with college, when you're done picking up a trade, and you go and you're working there's nothing wrong with going out and working for somebody else. What I tell them is, you want to learn the ins and outs of that particular business. You want to learn, if you're in education, you learn the ins and outs of how a school functions. If you're into mechanics, you want to learn the ins and outs of how a mechanic shop works. Whatever the trade is, whatever the business is, you want to learn the ins and outs, and then set a goal for yourself. You save money. Within 3 years, you and 2, 3, 4, 5 friends of yours that have the same vision in mind come together, start up something for yourselves, and really create something of substance that is a good service to the community and a good service to yourself. That's what I would say about that. That's the type of education that we need, but always setting things up in a way that's better than what we are experiencing in the world.
That's a very beautiful message.
Yeah, it is.
Um, one more question. As
Yep.
hip hop being the universal teacher now and being the number one thing that teaches our kids now, have you yourself ever merged hip hop in a way of teaching your kids?
Man, shoot, who you asking? I include when I was blessed with the opportunity to write curriculum for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. This was in 2007, and I've had several opportunities since then to write curriculum for the county. Included several lessons on hip hop. One of the lessons was KRS-One meets Carter G. Woodson. It was like um, if Carter G. Woodson would have a conversation with KRS-One, what would it look like? I created another lesson on hip hop economics, another one on the founding of hip hop itself. Another one, there was a popular song back in the late 80s that came out. There's a whole music video to it, Self-Destruction. Self-destruction, you're headed for self-destruction. Um, Songs that would develop that are meant for students to reflect on, and also at the same time taught some of the history of hip hop itself. One thing that white people do oftentimes is they teach the legacy of their culture, what inspired them when they were growing up to their children. And so likewise, it should be with us. Um, One of our problems as a people is that we're very ahistorical. We don't truly know our history. And if we do know it, oftentimes we only know it on a surface level. We really do need to take the time to know our hip hop history. We need to know the history of our people, the Black, the Latino, the indigenous people, and seek to unify on all different levels using the empowering voice of hip hop. In my classroom, I always try to incorporate some type of lessons that incorporate hip hop. When I was teaching, I presently teach world history, but when I was teaching American history to eighth graders, I had them create like a skit on the Boston Massacre. Excuse me, I was going to say Boston Tea Party, but no, it was the Boston Massacre. And my students created like a crowd, and several of them were coming out like with like Black Lives Matter type of signs. They were saying the signs were saying um, justice for the Boston Five. That's how they phrased them. One of them came out and started rapping in the middle of the whole thing. So hip hop was definitely an element that was like central to that. The signs had graffiti on them, and they went around the whole school like presenting their skits to the students. And so hip hop, even though it's been altered in its popular form, has been altered so much. But when you bring it to its core essence, when you incorporate the graffiti and you incorporate the true rhyming skills, um, it mesmerizes um, students, and it makes them want to gravitate towards it more and more and learn more of it. We ourselves, who are repping the culture and love the culture, we really do need to put it at the forefront and show them how it could in fact transform lives if we allow it to. And that's what I would say about that as an educator, and just generally us who love the culture. Just put the culture in the front. Use it as a teaching tool. Use it as an inspiration tool, and it'll serve what it's meant to serve.
This one, excuse me. This one right here is gonna be a serious question because I
Yes, sir.
think that I know you have noticed, beloved, Tony, how
Yes, sir.
our community is now turning homosexual. Can you let's talk about that because a lot of people feel like our community, especially the men, are becoming homosexual. And why do you feel that way, becoming that route?
Brother, I mean, when we're talking about the enemy's ways, we're talking about here the enemy being the mindset of Satan. which is dominating the world that we're living in today. When it's on the internet, and our children are constantly on the internet, when they're watching television, they're going to be picking up the ways that our open enemy presents to them. They're going to be picking up all sorts of strange habits, and even when we don't think that they're practicing them, behind the scenes they're experimenting with them. Our young people are particularly it's a very sensitive issue, because particularly in middle school age and upper elementary school ages, those are the times where they're questioning their own identity. They have questions about, with the boys, they have questions about girls. Girls have questions about boys. They have questions about themselves. They see the changes in their own body, And so when we're dealing with the enemy and their hand in what are trends in popular media, what they allow in movies and in music or whatnot, we have to do everything that we can to not just, we could say we could shelter them, but when it comes down to our children, we have to have open discussions with them about what kind of pollution we are experiencing in our culture, and how detrimental that is to us. When they're having questions about themselves and their own identity, we ourselves, we have to be receptive and open to having those discussions with our children. We can't just pretend like things are just going to, just go away themselves. That's not going to do justice to our children. We need to have open discussions in regards to the condition of our people, and seek to uplift our people in every way imaginable out of the condition. We can't be judging and condemning our people because they've fallen into the traps of the enemy. No, we have to step up our game and work to uplift our people out of the condition. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has expressed this. He has not condemned the homosexual community, but he has taught them. Of course, he doesn't judge them, but he's taught them, like, he doesn't agree with their lifestyle, but he wants our people to realize why we've fallen into that condition, and how living a more righteous lifestyle in accordance with the laws of Almighty God Himself, that is the best route for us. That is the best way for us, and that is the way for us today if we seek to be successful.
Thank you so much, brother. And that message was so powerful that I think in a lot of people need to listen and hear that. You know what I mean?
It's an honor and a pleasure to be on your show, dear brother.
No, likewise. And my last question is this: as me being a non-Muslim, and for a lot of non-Muslims who might listen to our show, and or maybe people who are not as religious, or people who are religious, what would be your advice to them on how to maybe support the movement or help the movement on just trying to make things better for us as a people, as a whole, as one family? Because I've listened to a lot of the teachings of Minister Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad and even Malcolm X, and one thing I love about them that I've never heard in any other religion, they always refer to the family, and speaking at all of us as one family: the red, the black, the yellow, and that's really important to me, because I look at a lot of people as family too. So, what can people who are not Muslims, who maybe Christians, who are not even religious, what can we do? What advice would you give them as far as to try to help the movement?
The minister has been teaching to different communities of people the way that he has, because really, dear brother, we don't have much time. And I mean, if we want to if we want to be Christian, or if we want to be Muslim, or if we want to be whatever we claim to be, we right now is the time to unite, because if we see our people in a detrimental condition, we don't have time to be arguing about religion. What the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us as being the best religion is the idea and the concept of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is the best religion. Um, Islam itself means a complete submission to do the will of God. To be a Muslim means one who submits themselves entirely to do the will of God. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us a very good Christian is a very good Muslim, and a very good Muslim is a very good Christian. As long as we're seeking uh, to be in accordance with universal principles, and we're striving to live a righteous life, and unite on that fact to be a benefit to our people, we're then fulfilling what Almighty God Himself wants us to do in this hour, and that is to uplift our people out of the condition that they're in. We have to love our people more than they could ever possibly hate themselves. And we see our people really hating themselves and doing things that are very detrimental to themselves, and setting themselves up um, to really being destroyed, self-destroyed in that. Dear brother, we don't have any time to be arguing about religion. We need to find every kind of way to unite. It's been the way of the enemy to divide us over our small differences. We need to put away our differences that the enemy amplifies and makes big among us, and really look at it as just being, man, that's just some small stuff. Can we find some kind of way to unite? You know, if it's on economics, or if it's on the idea that we need more pure food, or that we need some good music that we could jam to. It don't matter what we claim. Let's just come together as righteous brothers and sisters, and seek to better our people in every way imaginable. That's the way I would answer that, my brother.
Most definitely. Thank you. You've been hitting the points right on the head.
He did, yeah. He been going in like I was just quiet, just soaking it in like a sponge. All the teachings.
No, man, brother. Right now we need some unity, brother.
Yes.
Because we're dying, brother. We're dying. I mean, we that whole incident with um just recently
In Wisconsin.
in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
the brother being shot down by police. I mean, they could reform the laws all they want in this country. That it doesn't change what lies in the hearts of those that are called police officers.
Yep.
The way that they've been trained is in the way that they've been trained in Israel, and that they train police officers in the way that they do in Israel to kill off black and dark-skinned populations. They bring that madness over here. So I mean, when you have that kind of training, with that kind of thinking, of course, you're going to have police officers still behave that way despite the law being changed that it has. And so we're very blessed to have a group of brothers, some of them who are in the Nation of Islam, uh, who organize in a group called the Circle of Brotherhood. And this speaks to the last question that you asked me, like how can we unite?
Yes.
You know, as different people. We see that in a beautiful organization such as the Circle of Brotherhood. It's the executive director is Brother Lyle Muhammad. Has some of my other brothers in the Nation of Islam in it, like Brother Al Muhammad, Brother Philip Muhammad. Then it has Christian brothers in there, that are just awesome brothers. Then, you know, some of them, they don't have a religion, quote unquote, that they're claiming, you know, but what they experience in that circle of brotherhood is righteousness, and they're seeking to improve the conditions of the community. Right now, with this whole COVID situation, where a lot of people are out of work and they're not really making a living like how they should for their family because of circumstance, the Circle of Brotherhood has provided food for the community, and resources to the community, things that our people absolutely need. So if you want an example of what unity looks like, you have an organization such as that. In Atlanta, we have the 10,000 Fearless House, where not just Muslims but also Christians and other people in the community come together, and they seek to make a difference in the community. And the 10,000 Fearless was set up by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a result of what was established from the 20th anniversary of Million Man March. So wherever we are, dear brothers, we're seeking to be the difference. But it requires the unity of our people, no matter what religion we claim. Our people are suffering no matter what religion they claim. So what do we look like dividing ourselves up into camps and parties, trying to argue who has the best knowledge? And, we're better than one another because we have the truth. Well, what are you doing with that truth today? We can't really improve our condition if we're all we're doing is just saying we're better than you. That's the mindset of Satan. We ourselves, we have to be the difference, the difference has to be as it relates to how we build unity with one another and how we make a difference in our respective communities.
Definitely. My brother, man, you gave us so much game and so much knowledge. I duly appreciate that. And man, you just wrapped up the podcast right then and there.
He did.
You wrapped it with that message right there. Ain't no need for us to even be talking anymore.
Yeah, it's an honor and pleasure, dear brothers.
And it's an honor to speak to you. And I want to say I really, really appreciate you taking my call. And you were so quick and hit me up. And I'm gonna promote the heck out of this.
Yeah.
Brothers, I mean, like, what I'm gonna promote it myself. I mean, like, whatever you need from me, and whatever you need from the Nation of Islam locally, and whatever I'm working with, I mean, just let me know, and we could build from there, brother. But one thing I really did want to say on the podcast is that we need to instead of supporting that individual. I don't know if you're still recording.
Yeah, no, I'm still recording.
You're still recording. Yeah. Instead of promoting that individual's podcast, which from every video that he posts up on YouTube, he makes hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
At most.
Facts.
We don't know how much he makes, but he's making money, and he's not even a member of our own community. He's a guest in our own house. In hip hop culture, which Black people founded. Latinos founded. But you see, 90% of those that he interviews on his podcast, they're Black.
Yep.
And he's a guest in our house.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have to promote one another when we come out with podcasts and produce real good quality podcasts like the one that you're producing, my brother.
I appreciate it.
Brother Ben X and many others that are
Riz Islam.
Right, and we have to promote one another and be there for one another. That's how we're really going to get anywhere. So you can't hate on that individual for promoting his thing and working his hustle. That's just a sign that we have to hustle more and work our product even more. There ain't no hate there. In fact, we could take time to study him and see how we can sharpen our own game.
And definitely, and I do that to a T, but it only goes back to what a lot of us are feeling like. Some people who's not from the neighborhood coming in our neighborhood and making money off of us, but I bet you I can't go to his neighborhood and make money off of him.
No. We have to work. We have to find some kind of way to develop a good quality product, much better than what our people are used to, and provide it for them in such a way where it does become affordable for them and it is profitable enough for us. And provide a service for our people so good that they'll stop going to the enemy and stop going to others that have no good intention for them, and they'll rather come to us because we're servicing them with love and with care. That's what we should be doing, brothers.
Definitely. And we're going to end it like this. Chaos Culture Radio out. Man, I just appreciate y'all just listening. Stay tuned for the next episode.